Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, June 13th, 2021. The fire potential impacts for the next few days continues to be the heat and the wind. So for today we have some mild wind gusts over far western Nevada and some stronger winds with very low relative humidities over central Idaho and southeast Nevada and southwest Utah. Gusts are 30 to 40 miles an hour with relative humidities from 4 to 8%, so a very dry air mass. And then we have in this pink area near record heat with low relative humidities. That trend continues into Monday with some of the heat and wind dying down across the north, but continued gusty winds over the central Great Basin and very hot temperatures over mainly Utah and southern Nevada. And then that continues into Wednesday with wind gusts across the central Great Basin and continued very hot temperatures and very low relative humidity. Yesterday was a dry and sunny day with warming temperatures. Great Basin fire activity is shown here, continues to be pretty steady. Most of the activity over Utah and along the Utah and Idaho border there. We do have 3 team fires in place across Utah right now, these 3 here. ERCs continue to rise under the building high pressure over the Great Basin. We have a lot of near record ERCs across the state of Utah. Many of the stations are above the 97th percentile. Especially across the south and central portions of the state. These ERCs will only continue to climb over the next few days. Closer look at the trend lines for northwest Utah, showing the current values setting records for the time of year and almost hitting that 90th percentile across the north. And further south, southeast Utah, the little cool front that moved through did bump those values slightly lower than the record values, but still right at about 97th percentile, which is still very high. A closer look at some sampled live fuel moistures here, also showing a pretty dire situation across Utah. Sagebrush live fuel moistures over northwest Utah at the Vernon site, close to the historical records for the time of year. And further south, the Sevier Reservoir in central Utah, looking at the 1,000-hour sampled values, those values are at the lowest recorded for the 1st of June since 2003. So low live fuel moistures and low dead fuel moistures across the state, definitely contributing to increased fire activity. This morning's satellite imagery shows 2 major players weather-wise. We've got this major high pressure across the southwest. That's going to be moving a little bit further northward and westward over mainly Utah for the next few days, bringing some serious heat to the area. And then we have this low pressure trough off the Pacific coast that's not really being allowed to move in because of this ridge, but that is what's keeping the wind in place over the central Great Basin. So for today, with the ridge to the south and the east and the low up to the north and west, we do have high risk triggers for heat across much of Utah and even up into southern Idaho, and wind over western Utah and eastern and southeast Nevada. Taking a closer look at the winds here, we can see gusts up to 40 to 45 miles an hour over much of southeast Nevada and southwest Utah, and some breezes up in central Idaho as well. Minimum relative humidities are very low across much of Utah and Nevada this afternoon, with values in the single digits between 4 and 8%. It's very low for the time of year. On Monday, more of the same is expected as that ridge continues to build a little bit further north, with continued very hot temperatures, record-breaking temperatures over much of Utah, with the low still remaining up to the north and west. So high-risk triggers are issued once again for the heat over most of Utah, and then wind over western Utah and eastern Nevada. The winds pick up a bit on Monday, especially over Nevada, with gusts 40 to 45 miles an hour, and still pretty gusty over western Utah as well. If we look at the maximum temperatures on Monday, the heat is really going to be in place over Utah, not quite as hot over Nevada or Idaho, with highs near 103 degrees in Salt Lake City. On Tuesday, the ridge continues to build further northward as that low breaks down across the Pacific Northwest. We'll still see record-breaking temperatures over Utah and continued gusty winds over portions of Nevada and western Utah. So a closer look at those winds, showing this area over east central Nevada into a little bit further north northwest Utah is where we're highlighting for the gustiest winds on Wednesday and on Tuesday, with gusts up to 45 miles an hour once again. Temperatures remain very hot in Utah with highs up to 106. In Salt Lake City, definitely record-breaking territory. The 3-day precipitation accumulations show basically no precipitation over the next 3 days. Then on Wednesday, the ridge expands a little bit, or continues to expand a little bit further west into southern Nevada, and so we will see the high-risk triggers issued for eastern Nevada on Wednesday for that heat as it continues to expand further north and west. And continued heat on Thursday, so just a very long period of very hot temperatures through the work week. High-risk triggers issued for all of Utah and Nevada for those hot temperatures. Cooler across the north. On Thursday, however, we will see a little bit of moisture moving up from the south, and so we expect to see an increase in thunderstorm activity, especially across southern Utah and the Arizona Strip. So we do have high-risk triggers issued for those thunderstorms. On Friday, the moisture remains in place across southern Utah and even expands a little bit further northward, possibly into northeast Utah, for continued threat of thunderstorm activity and generally dry thunderstorms here. So something to look for sure, especially after this very hot and dry period this week preceding any thunderstorm activity. Could definitely be a critical period that we're moving into across southern Utah in that Thursday to Friday time frame. Thunderstorms continue on Saturday as well, especially again over Utah, and maybe even some thunderstorm activity over far southeast Nevada on Saturday. The 7-day accumulations are shown here, again looking at a little bit of moisture moving into the southern and eastern portions of Utah with those thunderstorms. Like I said, those thunderstorms will mostly be on the dry side with kind of a mix of wet and dry here and there. And the extended forecast for June 20th through 26th puts the bullseye of heat a little bit further north and west of the geographic area, with the heat in place over the Pacific Northwest, which is a good thing for us. Below normal chances for precip over most of the Great Basin, especially the north. And then we'll see with this above normal chance for precip over the southwest if any of that continues to send thunderstorm activity into the southern Great Basin. And this concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest update.